Kink Live in the Bing Lounge is presented by Intel. Please welcome to the Bing Lounge, DAWNS. Welcome, DAWNS, and welcome David Boone. He's the guy holding the cup of tea. This is an amazing setup, by the way. How many instruments do you guys, y'all travel with here?
I think there's about 45.
Seriously?
And 30 of them are left on the bus. No, we did leave out the electric saw for the performance today. So
I love it.
Yeah.
That is so cool. You play it with a bow or something, right?
John does. Yeah, he plays it with a bow.
That is so cool. Anyway, we'll get to see this beautiful upright over here in action too, I'm sure. But I wanted to talk a little bit about it. This is David Boone, by the way, from Missoula, Montana.
Yes.
Yeah, and DAWNS is really kind of a new project for you. You've been toiling away singer-songwriter for over a decade.
Yeah, I had produced a bunch of solo albums through the years, and this one just came about over the past 2 years. I sent off some demos, and this project kind of took on a life of its own, and so felt like it was kind of a clean slate and a new beginning, so hence the DAWNS moniker.
And this is so interesting because you have this group of friends that you can reach out to and say, hey guys, let's just, it's like it takes a village, gets a new meaning, right?
It does, yes.
Yeah, when you have all these friends that you can confab with, and then you retreat to a studio, you put the demo together, your wife. Where's little baby Myers, by the way?
They're hiding in the green room because I think he exceeds the 91 decibel limit. So.
And we have some neighbors who are going, what are you doing down? What are you building down there? To quote Tom Waits.
Yeah.
But anyway, so your wife actually was the one who suggested, you ought to put these demos out into the world. And lo and behold, somebody in England hears it. Tell me about that.
Well, she had suggested, she said, I think your music would go over really well in the UK. And she'd been listening to some music over there, a group called Cherry Ghost and some of the older Coldplay stuff, as well as Star Sailor and some other groups over there. And she said, I think this batch of music would go over really well over there. So she talked me into sending out some demos. And there was a name that was kind of unanimous with a lot of the artists that I'd been listening to. And it was producer Danton Supple. He'd done a number of the Morrissey albums, the early Coldplay material. And I, on a whim, sent a batch of demos to his management. Didn't really expect to hear anything, and it was about 4 weeks. And I got an email back and said he really loved the demos and wanted to work with me on producing an album. So it was kind of a pursuit of happiness moment, for sure.
Yeah. Totally crazy. And I would think that for Danton Supple, too, we get all these amazing guys who are really coming. They're kind of at a crest of singer-songwriter business going on over there, and we're playing a lot of them on Kink. But for him, maybe it was like, wow, there's an American guy that I can do something with, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
Tables turned.
Yeah, we sent, I think, 12 songs to him, and then I traveled there this past September and began producing a debut EP. And he also brought on board a string arranger over there by the name of Audrey Riley, and she's just done a number of amazing projects with Smashing Pumpkins, Foo Fighters, and Muse, just a number of groups. So she started writing string arrangements for this batch of demos, and we began producing a debut EP. And it was a really neat process because Danton liked the energy of the demos so much. Instead of scrapping them and starting over from scratch, he ended up interweaving these demo versions, the energy of them, and then reproducing them, dissecting them, building them up with strings, and it was a pretty unbelievable process. We work with folks from the London Symphony and the London Gospel Choir, so it was a pretty unbelievable experience.
Jeez, did you just sit there and go, wow?
It was definitely a moment where I was like, what is happening right now?
Yeah, but you talk about having had a huge rush of creative spirit prior to getting together with your friends, right? So something was definitely going on in you that moved you forward that way.
Yeah, I was at an interesting turning point in my life. I was getting ready to have a family. I'd been building a house for 4 years.
And this is like, what, 2 years ago?
This was 2 years ago, and I was feeling this very intense period of how am I going to make artistry work in a viable way, and I was weighing how does this all work. And I wrote this batch of songs in 9 days, and it was this collective. It was called Here's to Losing Control, the batch. And it was this frustration of kind of creative energy of I need to make something work, and at the same time wrestling with these issues of having a child on the way and letting go and kind of letting life take you where it needs to, even if it means giving up on music. So there was kind of an abandonment and a reckless kind of youthfulness about this material. And I kind of thought I was at the end of myself there with music and being able to justify it. And I got this email, and it kind of kept it alive. So
wow, take note.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to just give it up, you
Yeah.
know, to get it to come your way.
Yeah.
One technical thing I wanted to ask, you know, when you talk about demos, and for those of us who maybe don't work with, you know, the waves on a TV, you know, on a computer screen,
Yeah.
a demo isn't like taking a piece of tape necessarily, and then how you're going to cut it, but you have it like on a hard drive. Did you take a little hard drive with you, or what was that?
Well, yeah, what happened is we tracked all these songs, kind of a semi-live energy to them. I recorded these demos, and we went to this remote studio retreat with a bunch of musician friends, and we collaborated for about 10 nights. And then I sent these MP3s off via email and heard back. And so we took that hard drive, sent it to Danton ahead of time. He prepped the tracks. He re-triggered the drums, re-amped all the bass amps, re-amped all the guitar amps. So it was this very elaborate process. And we just finished producing the other 8 songs from that original demo. He flew out to Montana for 5 weeks, and he's currently mixing them right now in West London.
He's toiling away with
Yep.
that process.
At the moment, yes.
And one more thing, you know, you, David Boone, are now called DAWNS, but tell the story of how, okay, this doesn't sound like David Boone in Missoula, Montana. You got to think of something else. What happened?
Well, we sat down with Danton's management after the process and listened to this EP, and it just sounded much larger in vision and soundscape than anything I'd done. And it was actually at his management advice that they said, you know, I don't hear just David Boone here. I hear kind of a vision and a soundscape here, and I think it's worth. I think this represents a new step forward for you musically and artistically, and I would consider, you know, embracing that basically. So I went away. I met with kind of an artist that I really appreciate who did all the imagery, and we worked with on our videos for the EP.
Which are beautiful, by the way, well worth seeking out.
Yeah, he did some amazing work, and he's a very conceptual based artist, and we chatted over stuff, and we felt like DAWNS really represented this batch of material, a bigger kind of vision, and also there's something nice about removing yourself so personally in even the name that gives the music more merit to move and breathe, I guess, if that makes sense.
And finally, there will be the kind of a full cycle. There will be an album, a completed album by the end of the year for you.
Yes, we have a tentative release of March, and the full-length album is going to be called Here's to Losing Control. And
full circle.
It is full circle.
Well, David Boone and DAWNS, it's wonderful to get to know a little bit more about you. Enjoy Portland, this beautiful fall day.
Yeah,
well, late summer, I should say, technically.
Yeah, it is great being here.
Yeah, and thank you for being here, and I think it's time to hear the music.
Absolutely.
DAWNS in the Bing.